Excellent job so far. Game number 2 is going to kick off here for the grand finals of the North American region. Coming out of game 1, I really want to emphasize that we have still yet to see, right? Kanata Cooper pop off. We're gonna see Miro and Pink, right, find their stride. We're gonna see all these other teams that we know that are absolutely capable of being juggernauts in the final days, in the final coming moments, still make an appearance here, right? Tace and Iamzo. There are so many teams that are yet to show their true capabilities. That is kind of what excites me about this entire event, because we're just starting. So the adjustments are going to happen. The day 2 performances are going to be the most critical, because that is where the points really start to ramp up. But you've got to create a strong foundation first, and failing to pursue big points in one game, Taco, can definitely be detrimental to you.
Yeah, and right now, Cirque, he's got plenty of weapons, but his duo has been knocked. It looks as though Death and Edgy were able to get that 1-for-1 trade, but Edgy's actually been full eliminated. And keep in mind, we also saw Astray, Vorteca, and Paco just off a little bit further in the distance. So if this doesn't wrap up quickly, it could be Vorteca and Paco prospering at the end of it. Death has managed to find an opportunity, though, to get some shield. But now Vorteca instantly pushing, not going to allow for that pickup onto Havoc from Cirque. But at the same time, still a 1 versus 2 situation if you are Death. And Death, he might have actually had an opportunity to snag Edgy's reboot card and then immediately disengage. It looks like he's created a little bit of space, but at the same time, pushed out from the drop before getting a real opportunity to loot it out as thoroughly as he would have liked.
And just really quickly, the pickup went through, so no elimination credit for Death there.
Yeah.
Straight sniped by Paco and Vorteca, but Tony and Noisy, this is a repeat, I'd say, overall performance here at the drop, as Crazy and Oliver OG have tended to have the, I'd say, the best record of defending this outskirts location here. I can't speak too much for game number 1, as we didn't see Oliver OG and Craze make it too far. However, this is going to be the story of the weekend, I think, for Craze, Oliver OG, and Tony, of course, is that there's going to be a lot going on here, a lot of back and forth. Coming out of that first game, though, I do believe Tony's team was the team that actually won, so this is a big change of events for him.
Well, not only that, you almost have to feel a bit, though, for Oliver OG and Craze. It's nice to see them with those 2 eliminations. Shows that at least the beginning, they were able to pop off in comparison to what may have gone a little bit south in last lobby. And that hand cannon, nasty shot there from Oliver. But he's been contested pretty heavily at that drop there on the Breezy Coast. And it's surprising, too, because it's an outskirts position on the map, right? Far northeast, so you don't really anticipate to be so much attention sort of fixated towards that spot, but for some teams, it's just their priority.
Let's see what Tony's got right here. Ooh, big tags come in. Steps up when it matters, though, finding his shotgun tags. And this is onto Vert's duo. This is at the Mount Olympus, fully contested here, getting themselves 2 eliminations. This is now back-to-back successful wins for them on the drop. Meanwhile, talking about teams that have really had a tough time with drop spots, Mixin and Blaha back-to-back now here. I mean, we saw what happened before. They touched down. Phenom and Ziggy beat them to the punch, got the weapons first, took them out immediately. This go around, not as fast as the last one, as Blaha and Mixin at least get to, get a little playtime going here, but I mean, it's just a matter of minutes, right?
That's certainly what it's feeling like. Phenom, though, a little bit of pressure from Baha, but unfortunately, the numbers are just stacked against him. His HP practically at nothing left. Phenom and Ziggy just look for that split angle approach, and sure enough, it was inevitable for Blaha to escape there in that one. MDF, it would have taken a massive, I think, slip up from Ziggy or Phenom for them to lose that exchange. And traction's also picking up elsewhere. Mount Olympus, keep in mind, we saw Kylie also get eliminated earlier on, but Z-Link and Antonio, the question is, were they able to essentially recover some of the HP they've lost? But they managed to hold their own push back Paper and Victor V, at least for a moment. That could be very valuable time in order to recover the HP, and it seems like they feel even more confident to possibly even just keep taking shots from a distance. Victor and Paper pausing for a moment, but I like this idea though from Victor V and Paper. I like the fact that they're trying to get aggressive early on, because I think that a lot of teams have sort of recognized the fact that without those surge cacti on the map, it is a lot easier to establish a surge threshold earlier on, or at least as easy as it's going to be in any grand set lobby, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you as far as trying to find surge early on is going to be super important. I'm trying to be conscious of the fact that they also might be just rotating to what will be the eventual congested side. Like the teams come in from the south, right, from the southern areas, because they're kind of sweeping around that zone threshold there. But looking at Bugha and Aviv's points just looks, I mean, it doesn't even feel right. Triple digits after game number 1 is just ridiculous. I don't know if we even have stats to show us, like, has Bugha and Aviv, has Bugha in the past ever had such a strong start? Because that is about as good of a start as I think we've ever seen a team kind of kick off a game 1, especially someone as, you know, again, tenured as Bugha there. But back to Buzz and Epic Whale, they have really found their stride with the recent changes, and maybe it's because of this. Everyone knows that Muzz in particular has some of the best aim, and he's one of the fastest, right, when it comes down to the mechanics side of it. Take our focus back to the old solo All-Stars days. I mean, there was a reason he was the All-Star of that event.
Yeah, I mean, Muzz has been very vocal, at least in Aussie Antics chat especially, about how much he's enjoying seeing these surge cacti changes overnight. Same case scenario there for Epic Whale, but they had a pretty successful lobby 1, and I kind of want to readdress what you were thinking about Bugha. And that last lobby was actually his first victory royale in an FNCS finals for this chapter, specifically in chapter 5. So yeah, Bugha is definitely a player that you kind of expect consistency from, and I think especially paired with Aviv, that duo has had a lot of really high moments throughout their pairing and through this season specifically. But I think that surge cacti change, a lot of people, or at least as far as public perception is concerned, you're looking more towards Redline Rig, because you expect it, okay, well, now that Mythic Combat Assault Rifle, but more specifically, that Machinist Medallion, that's got to be the focal point of this season now, because it is just such a strong medallion in comparison to what the other two offer, especially in the hands of Peterbot and Pollo.
Here at the Grand Glacier, though, let's get a little temperature change for a second right now. Flo and Sigma found themselves in a little bit of fight. They're going to actually pursue the solo that's trying to escape right now and leave the duo behind. Oh, but look at this. Not even deciding to chase recklessly, making sure that they are well-equipped and well-prepared, and this is perfect that their timing just works out fast enough that they're able to utilize those crash pads. But Craze might have parked down a little too soon, and this is a little too easy to spot out here, Craze. You did not do a good job of hiding at all, by any means. So Flo and Simga should be able to finish this one up here. First, though, Nitro comes out. Yep, they're trying to get right in that box to tag before the wall goes down. And just like that, they come up on their first elimination. Refresh is going to be very much welcomed here. And look, the duo that was hot on their heels, switching up their rotate here, not looking to, you know, white line their way directly into Flo and company. They're going to mix it up. Meanwhile, Vino and Clicks, no strangers, again, to playing the Sandy Steps area. This is their literal backyards, continuing the strat here. This time, though, you see the walls are down because Vino doesn't trust anyone to be potentially, right, hiding out in these tunnelways.
Can't blame him, especially when you factor in that one of the duos closest to him currently, Ian and DKV, these two were essentially poaching upon Veno and Clicks throughout semis, just really following Veno and Clicks around the map, essentially heckling them pretty heavily even, and it did have, I think, a little bit of an impact on Veno and Clicks' overall performance when that was occurring. And now, one more time, they find themselves caught up for a moment, but that could be a a very open-ended match that Veno's more than welcome to take on, especially knowing that it could be a huge opportunity for just their overall surge damage threshold. Mongrel and Mr. Savage, though, this is a duo that has really been, I think, shaking things up pretty heavily in the NAC. And I know that when they initially made the move, they were one of the last teams out of all those EU players that came over to even announce the fact that they had moved over to compete for Major 3 here in NAMDF, and yet we saw them closing it off in semis with such a strong top 10 performance. You have to, it's hard not to be excited for this team. If they could just replicate that same level of success here in the grand finals throughout today and tomorrow, we're looking at them with the possible qual opportunity, and for Mongrel, that would just be massive.
Yeah, if nothing else, they bring so much excitement to the broadcast, to the entire competitive region. And you know, at the start of this game, I was rattling off names, right, that we just have yet to see. Peterbot and Pollo is in that conversation. Definitely Mongrel and Savage were missed in that conversation as well. But it just goes to show you how many notable greats exist already that have not quite found their stride just yet. But that was, again, only the first kickoff, right? If you can climb your way out of that one, kind of get your head back on the right side of the fence here, you'll be in good shape. But look at this, Jocko and Ponty, second place team coming into things. We got a replay for you guys, hot and ready off the press. This one's onto Reet, onto Ritual, already in the early game, slowing down what is the little bit of momentum that Reet was building up there, but Ritual seems like he might have slipped away and got the save onto Reet, so the run's not over just yet.
But at the same time, that's bound to put a little bit of a damper into their overall surge strategy, because now they're going to have to spend time recovering some of those much-needed material, much-needed resources. Ritual's rocking a relatively strong loadout, especially since he has those two Nuka-Colas, but it's about what Reet can manage to finagle up as they look to press their way inwards towards that next edge of zone. And they might even opt to stick around a little bit longer here, maybe hoping that that duo that Ritual is just taking shots at actually crosses their path so that they can make up for some of the time they just lost there on that reboot.
Yeah, I think they're going to wipe that whole place clean of all the metal. There's no way you're going to give up that metal this early in the game when, you know, you're not going to find another spot like that. If anything, they're actually extremely lucky that spot wasn't, like, fully swiped clean. But jumping over to Pollo and Peterbot play for the first Rift Island spot up right now. What a tag from Pollo. Oh my gosh, big one.
What a tower.
You want that right there for sure.
It's just the fact that the surge base is eye level with Rift
Island. With the eye.
So you don't really see that too often. Granted, it is because of the fact that it's situated on the top of a hill just northeast of where Shipwreck Shallows, and that's currently what Rift Island is over right now. But Peterbot and Pollo, if they actually get a hold of the mythic hand cannon that's available here, which I think has to be part of their intention to be up here in the first place, because you're looking at a duo that's, at least as far as Pollo is concerned, they're capped on their horde material. Sure, you can always clear things out for a little bit more of cap on your wood as well, but they're essentially gatekeeping the rest of Rift Island now from everybody else surrounding them. Rise and Agers as well, still fixated at the Shipwreck Shallows, and they're gonna have to be careful about how they actually choose to move, because normally you see teams pull towards the underside of that Rift Island because they want to use those rifts for mid-game rotates, but that might be much more problematic now with Peterbot and Pollo there.
I find this to be very interesting. Cole finds a tag, but they want nothing to do with the teams that were able to see them just moments ago, and they go for the kind of sweeping rotate here through this build. Meanwhile, Z-Link, a bit of a standoff. Victor V, no paper. It does seem like Victor V and Paper might be seeing their first early lobby send-off here, but let's see what Victor V is made of. He is going to pop a little shield there. That's going to give him some confidence. Beautiful tag there. Can't count him out just yet. Both of these guys are just a single headshot away from also being down. So anything can still happen. Victor V has an opportunity here, but Antonio and Z-Link look to be positioned very well, and there it is. Beautiful angle for Z-Link. Finds himself the fourth elimination for this duo, and that's a lot of elims in the mid game there, Taco. I mean, what a big game for Antonio and Z-Link right now.
That is definitely a pretty aggressive playstyle they've had to kick things off here in the second lobby. But I can't help but think that Victor V, he might have done just enough damage to kind of play a little bit of spoiler there towards Antonio and Z-Link, because clipping Antonio out of his shield entirely, that's going to be a moment where that duo is going to have to pause now, going to have to wait for him to heal up, whereas they could have initially been taking that opportunity to just rotate a little bit quicker. They're probably hoping for a more clean exchange on that elimination than what they were able to find. Still, at the very least, getting the point security off of that elimination credit is always going to be a nice feeling.
Feeling a little bit concerned right now for Reet and Ritual here. We already know that Reet was just rebooted. These run-out fights like this are going to surely work against them. They seem the ones to be pushing the case here, which I like that. I like that they're trying to take control of this, and there it is. That's the update. They know what they're doing. This fight was started for a reason. It's because they are very much below the surge here. Great Tags are going to kind of sneak their way in, but they're going to need finishes here.
Yeah, and they know that they're essentially working against the clock as we speak. Reet and Ritual, they don't need this just for that surge damage either, MDF. I think that this is a very welcome refresh, especially in terms of material cap count, as Reet is actually going to find that first knock onto Raze. Now it's just a race to the finish here. He's trying to track down Curly, trying to secure yet another massive pump shot, but instead, pressure from the side. Reet never had a chance to even see it coming, but that last tag did put them just above that surge damage threshold. But now, look at the shots from the sides. The rest of the lobby has taken note of this exchange, and they want their own piece of it.
But look, Curly sniped most of the loot and ran off with it. Now, Reet luckily does find the big shields from that, but Curly took all the mats.
That just hurt. It hurts to even watch. It hurts to look at, because all of their hard work, and now to just come up short like that, and yet they have so much distance to cross as well, and they know we've already got teams still staring us down, whereas Curly, he's at least managed to push a little bit further north, slightly better position, might even be able to just squeak his way into one of those rifts surrounding, but I just don't expect it. Actually, no, excuse me, Curly, he's gonna have no other option but to try and go for that launch pad.
Yeah, he was actually just looking to put a little sabotage in there, upset, I think, at the fact that he was, of course, targeted and lost his teammate there. Tries to give him a little payback on the way out. But yeah, look, you can add up Reet and Ritual's material counts, and Curly still had more. So, yeah, pretty tough loss. It's yeah, it's part of the game though, right? Like, that's gonna happen. You gotta secure your elims, obviously, and when it's a 2v1, there's no excuse. So, Chubs and Skittles, though, showing us how it's done. Jumps right into the broken builds there.
I just can't believe how fast things have felt as far as the pacing so far here today, MDF. I mean, I know watching EU, I mean, we knew that the mid-game action was going to be popping off over across the pond here in NA, but it really doesn't feel like we are halfway through this lobby at this point. And Chubs and Skittles, the fact that they are 81 below despite having 3 eliminations, these surge damage thresholds, you would have expected them to be a little bit lower in comparison to what we've seen in the past with the removal of that surge cacti regeneration feature, but instead, things have actually been slightly crossing the thresholds that we've been seeing in the past.
Yeah, that is a wild thing to think about, that we're in grand finals settings and the average number of exchanges and the damage basically is just way higher. So what does that tell us? More people are likely using their full inventories, right? Going through the shields, going through the heals, and these fights are probably ending as well. There's a lot of teams, even in this game right here, that are just looking like they are in really, really bad shape. Chubs and Skittles obviously being one of the ones on camera. We just came out of, Reet and Ritual's perspective, and you can see them there, a little glimpse in the distance that they're not looking good at all right now, even if they have the damage that they need. And the feed is lighting up. I saw Mongrel fall. I saw Mr. Savage fall already. Like, there are teams that we expect to do very well. They're having a really, really tough time right now. And talking about Reet and Ritual, Reet is down right now, getting pushed by Antonio and company, and that's no good. They're done.
Yeah, and I mean, even when we look at Chubbs' last situation, he used every single one of his heals just to survive those Storm Surge ticks. So his next rotate essentially into the heat of battle with all these other teams surrounding. I just don't see that boding super well for him. Vorteca and Paco, meanwhile, they've at least got 4 eliminations to work with, but again, another team just barely managing to stay above that damage threshold, but more importantly still, kind of getting held by the lobby right now. They've got to be really careful because look who's right above them. It's Bugha and Aviv, and these two are lined up, and it's such an ideal height position. They're able to try and control the flow of how the lobby actually rotates around them.
And you can see that just game number 1 that concluded was Bugha's first time ever starting an FNCS off with a win. And they haven't done much this game already, but the fact that they're here, the fact that they are alive, that's all they need because placement points are right around the corner now. They do have to survive this very treacherous coming minute, which is basically the battle against the Surge to find damage here shortly because they are the team holding that threshold right now, just barely above it. Meanwhile, more pressure coming in from other teams in the vicinity here, but they're going to be one of the last to rotate due to it.
Funny though, from Bacca and Parz just shooting out Bugha's floor, forcing him to drop a little bit of builds, but again, Blueberry Fizz, Crash Pad, that's about as easy of a rotate as you could hope for. And Bugha even gonna opt to take advantage of some of this River of Styx water surrounding restored reels. He's got those underworld dashes, but so does everybody else in this lobby. Expect some really aggressive takes, some really aggressive box fights as well from Peterbot and Pollo. This is a duo, keep in mind, everyone kind of commending Peterbot for his ability to utilize these underworld dashes so efficiently whenever he's challenging players inside of their boxes for fights.
Oh yeah, it's gonna feel like, you know, last season for him for sure. At this point, that's right where he wants to be. But tags are coming in. Peterbot and Pollo actually set themselves up pretty decently here as far as material is concerned. I'm not seeing a lot of, you know, heals to work with. However, they're in the end game where they do tend to perform best. Now, one thing we are noticing, given that this end game is kind of end on the river right now, it's got a lot of teams down in the low ground. A lot of teams that almost greedily wanted to, of course, pick up some of this underworld dash, you know, mobility here, right? Which opens up tons of tactics, but is it gonna work? We'll have to find out. A lot of teams are facing the troubles now for being down here. Peterbot and Pollo unfortunately cannot secure any of those elimination points, but they should be able to get the mats, which is gonna be huge here. Flowberry Fizz is what you want. Will he drop a weapon for it? We'll just have to find out when we tune in again later.
It's the fact that Peterbot was rocking the double mythics there. Goes to show just how much trust Pollo has in his duo. Yapko nearly gets a piece, but player's gonna be able to escape Quanti in a slightly separate layer, but it's only a matter of seconds before Yapko is reunited with his duo. They've taken note of Ziggy's floor, though. They chopped him out momentarily. Ziggy takes some massive damage, but he's not going to get fully pressured out just yet. Still trying to buy a little bit of time, but you could tell Yapko and Quanti, they don't want to let him escape.
Look at this high ground right now. Clicks and Vino. This is a very, very dominant position to be in. Not only that, they have a lot of mats to hold this down. Heavy material to really secure this high ground right now. This is a really, really well-timed take for height. Meanwhile, Peterbot has lost Pollo. He's down here, just destroying players in the low ground right now. Top 17. Can he make it to the top 10? We'll just have to find out. Notable names alive right now. Muzz still up. Acorn and Cold still in this game. Bacca once again. Quanti in this end game as well. Bugha is still here. These are many of the teams that were inside the top 10 coming out of game 1. Kanata has made it to the end game as well. There are exactly who we expect showing up right now. In position now, Bugha has the low ground, Peterbot has the mid, and Clicks and Vino have the high ground.
So you say that, but I'm looking at Kanatas and Cooper. They are kind of just standing their ground in the low. They might even be able to go hold Yapko and Quanti. They've also got to deal with Acorn just ahead of them. Bugha still trying to punch his way up through towards height. Instead gets knocked for it. Clicks and Veno not willing to let that happen. Too much pressure coming from every single direction. And Peterbot actually going to be the one to play real spoiler alert there for Bugha and Aviv.
Yeah, actually be the one to finish off Booga there here in the end game. Meanwhile, the high ground starts to get contested against it's Kanata and Cooper, but Clix doesn't miss a beat or a tag there, and he sends both of them running here while Vino was just trying to figure out what all was going on there. But Peterbot, we asked if he could make it to top 10. Of course he can, and he is still going here, racking up points, showing us exactly why he is an FNCS champion and the reigning one at that. Here on the North American region, this is definitely his house right now. He's not giving up just yet.
Not only that, but he's still got a hold of that Machinist medallion, gets dropped low one more time, just trying to crash pad his way to safety, but it's not going to be enough. Parz and Bacca, though, they've successfully overthrown Height, Clix, and Veno. The moment that they swapped, they wanted to try and catch up with the rest of the pack. They find themselves more towards the front side of zone. Clix just tarping through these uncontested layers momentarily, though, and Veno looks like he was at least able to scrap together some pieces, but no, instantly dropped. Bacca has come into the mix from out of nowhere. That drop from above, Veno just never had a chance to see it coming.
Yeah, and Kanata landed his tag too from the low ground, but Ager's gonna finish off Kanata. And Ager's just playing such good Fortnite right now. Not only did he clutch up last game to pull in the points, but he did well this game, and now Bacca and Parz get to secure themselves their first victory royale of the weekend there, and in strong fashion after taking high ground back from Clix and Vino. What a game for them. 6 eliminations as well, Taco. That is exactly how you want to start your FNCS.
Yeah, and it just looked like it was going to be such a promising finish there as well for Clix and Veno, but Parz and Bacca, those crash pads plus the Flowberry Fizz, we knew they were going to be a problem as far as maintaining height control is concerned. I also think it was partially just the fact that Clix and Veno, they wanted to try and control more towards that mid-ground section. They needed a material refresh at that point, but Bacca and Parz just managing to get the job done. That is a massive victory royale for them to find in this secondary lobby, MDF, but we'll let the analyst desk break it all down when we get back right after this short break.